That means the prayers in separation of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Actually, this particular prayer written by Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, when Srila Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati read that, because it was written while he was still present on the planet, and when he read that prayer written by Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, he said the following words: "Now I am confident that we have one man who is qualified to uphold the standard of our sampradaya." So here's the verses. Aha bhakti vinoda thakur guru dvavimshatiste sama dirgad dukkha barada shesha virahad dushti krita bhuryam jivanam bahujanma punya nivaha krishto mahimandale avirbhava kripam chakara chabhavan Shri Gaura Shakti Swayam. O Bhakti Vinod Thakur, O Gurudev, somehow a long and trying 22 years have passed since your disappearance. A time cursed with the painful and the heavy burden that I am constantly feeling due to your separation. My life substance is a prisoner to that agony. The conditioned souls, in due course of accepting unlimited births through countless species, fortunately, they come to gather the required pious merits to take a human birth on this earth. But unlike them, you are a personal manifestation of Lord Gauranga's divine potency, and your appearance is an evident display of his tender compassion. Verse 2. Dinoham chiraduskritir nahi bhavat padabjaduli kana svanananda nidhim prapanna subhadam labdhum samartho bhavam kintvaudarya gunat tavati yashasha karunya shakti swayam Shri Shri Gaura Mahaprabho prakatita Vishvam Samanvagrahit. Oh, how abominable is my existence from time immemorial. I have been trapped by the warden of impiety. I have no expectation of being afforded a chance of bathing in even one particle of the ecstatic dust of your lotus feet. Each shining particle clinging to your lotus feet contains an enormous joyful ocean providing the most ambrosial bath. And it promises at last the fulfillment of my life, the taste of selfless surrender. Oh, but wait! There is some hope. There is some hope. The extensive, all-encompassing magnitude of Sriman Mahaprabhu's manifest pastimes of wide distribution, Audarya Leela, they have graced our entire universe. O Srila Bhakti Vinod, you are the personal proprietor and you are the agent of that glorious and gentle grace. verse 3. He devastavane tavakila gunanam te virinchadayo deva vyartha manoratha kimuvayam martyadhama kurmahe etanno vivudai kadapyatishayam lankara ityuchatam shastre sheva naparaye hamiti yad Gitam Mukundena Tat. O Bhakti Vinod, O Divine Master, if all the attempts of the demigods, beginning with Lord Brahma, have met with disappointment in trying to narrate the totality of your wonderful spiritual qualities, then Gurudev, how can we simple and ordinary people fallen in this material world glorify you properly? We are not concerned with the highly decorative rhetoric of the learned demigods. For us it was the plain truth when Lord Mukunda said that he was incapable of depicting the magnanimity of the cowherd maidens of Braja, as mentioned in the Ras Leela pastimes. Naparaiham niravadya samyujam swaksadu krityam vibudayusa piva yama bhajandur jarageha shrinkala samvrishya tadva pratiyatu sadhuna. When the gopis were overwhelmed with dissatisfaction due to Lord Krishna's absence from the Ras Leela, then Krishna returned to them and he said, "My dear gopis, our meeting is certainly free from all material contamination. I must admit that even within a lifetime of Brahma, it would be impossible for me to repay my debt to you, because you have all cut off the bondage of family life just to search for me. And consequently, I am unable to repay you. Therefore, let your own glorious deeds be your compensation in this regard." Text 4. Dharmascharmagato gyataiva satata yogascha bogatmako gyane shunya gatir japena tapasa kyatir jigham saivacha dane dambikatanuraga bhajane dushta paracharo yada buddhim buddhimatam vibeda hetada dhatra bhavan preshita. O Bhakti Vinod Thakur, you appeared at the hour of our greatest need. And at that time, everyone practiced body worship and flesh religion, which any honest man will admit that it is ignorant. Don't speak. Which any honest man will admit is ignorance. Are you reading the Russian translation of that? Oh, I'm hearing this voice. You hear? Oh, I think it's the power tools, some kind of echo of that. O Bhaktivinoda Thakur, you appeared at the hour of our greatest need. And at that time, everyone practiced body worship and flesh religion, which any honest man will admit is ignorance. The yogis were cheating the public with cheap miracles. They were exploiting them for money and pleasure. The philosophers, bewildered in trying to capture the infinite, they found that their knowledge had led them to the void of nihilism. The mutterers of mantras were working to become well-known japa chanters. Ascetics practiced murderous torture for spiritual suicide. The proud gave in charity only to secure their fame. And all these abominable acts were performed in the name of Anurag Bhajan, the highest devotion to Godhead. At that dark hour, when all good intelligence had been spoiled by misconception, you were sent by the will of providence. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki. Text 5. Vishvesmin kiranair yata himakara sanjivayan oshadhir nakshatrani charanjayan nijasudham vistarayan rajate sachchastrani chatoshayan buddhaganam sammodayam ste tata nunam bhumitale subodaya iti chlado bahu sattvatam. When he appears within the dark evening sky, the full moon gives life to all the medicinal herbs within the universe by his cooling rays. He also helps the stars to twinkle, and their nectarine pleasure increases as they illuminate the world. O Bhaktivinoda Thakur, you have appeared like the moon to enliven the meaning of the scriptures, which act like medicine to soothe the diseased souls of this world. Your advent gives pleasure to the saints, who, like stars helped by the moon, can illuminate others simply by reflecting your light. Text number 6. Lokanam hitakamyaya bhagavato bhakti pracharastvaya grantanam rachanai satam abhimatayar nana vidhair darshita acharyai krita purvam eva kila tad ramanujadyair buddhai premambo nidhi vigrahasya bhavato mahatmya Sima Natat. Desiring to benefit the people in general, you preach the Bhagavat principles of devotion. Like the great spiritual geniuses, Ramanuja, Madhva, Nimbarka, Vishnu Swami, like them, you compose different scriptures which revealed the divine philosophical visions of the previous acharyas and the great devotees. But, O Bhaktivinoda Thakur, O Gurudev, more than that, you are a vast ocean of divine love, and your magnanimity knows no bounds. Verse number 7. Yadhamna kaludhama chaiva nigame brahmeti samgyayate yasyam shasya kalaiva dukkha nikarair yogeshvarair mrigyate vaikunte paramukta bringa charano narayano yasvayam tasyam shi bhagavan swayam rasavapu krishno bhavan tatprada. the effulgent, non-differentiated aspect of divinity known as Brahman, it is composed of infinite particles of individual consciousness, and it has been considered by the Upanishads and by Vedic scholars to be the halo of the Absolute. The localized plenary portion of Godhead, known as Paramatma, is sought after by the great yogis practicing extreme penance. Narayan himself, the predominating Lord of the Vaikuntha planets, whose lotus feet are worshipped and served by his unexcelled bee-like devotees, that Narayan is only a partial representation of the original personality of Godhead. The original, or the full-fledged aspect of divinity, is Krishna. O Bhaktivinoda Thakur, you have not come to distribute Brahman or Paramatma or even Narayan Bhakti, but Swayam Bhagavan Krishna, the original conception of the Absolute, who is all ecstasy. It is you, O Gurudev, who can gently place me in his hands, and you have come to give him to the public. Verse 8. Sarva Chintyamaye Parat Parapure Goloka Vrindavane Chillila Rasarangini Parivrita Saradhika Shri Hare Vatsalya Dirasaischa Sevita Tanor Madhurya Seva Sukam Nityam Yatra Buddha Tanotihi Bhavan Tadhama Seva Prada. Within the highest realm of the inconceivable spiritual world, there is a most charming place which is far superior to all others. That place is known as Goloka Vrindava. It is there that the original personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is found. There, Krishna's transcendental pleasure is increased by the personal service rendered to him by his devotees, who are absorbed in the mellows of friendship and parenthood. And there, surrounded by her most intimate, confidential maidservants, Srimati Radharani, with all of her paraphernalia, is offering Sri Krishna the highest form of affectionate service, which is completely inconceivable on the mundane plane. O Bhaktivinoda Thakur, if you so desire, it is within your power to easily grant this insignificant soul some service within that higher realm. Please bestow that mercy upon me. Verse 9. Shri God. Oh, this is the verse. This is the particular verse out of these 10 or these 10 verses. This verse 9 is the verse which is highlighted amongst all the verses written by Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj in all of his different prayers and shlokas. And this is the verse that upon reading, when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati read this, then he said, okay, now I am confident. There is one personality amongst us who can properly represent all of these highest teachings. So here's that verse. Shri Gauranutamam Swarupa Viditam Rupa Gajendra Rupa Grajannadritam Rupadhyai Pariveshitam Raghuganayar Asvaditam Sevitam Jivadhyayar Abhirakshitam Shuka Shiva Brahmadi Samanitam Shri Radha Padasevanam Ritamaho Tadhatum Isho Bhavan. So, first is Shri Gauranutamam Swarupa Viditam. Who is Swarup being mentioned here? Swarup Damodar Goswami. Srila Sridhar Maharaj is telling that what was sanctioned by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by his descent, that it was intimately known only to Sri Swarup Damodar Goswami. So in his composition, he's leaving this. What is he doing? He's leaving the conclusion about what is being talked about here. He's leaving it till the very last line of this poetry. He says, what was sanctioned by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? But what is that? You will find out at the end of the shloka. But first he's telling that very thing that was sanctioned by Mahaprabhu, who was it known to? Intimately known to. It was intimately known only to Sri Swarup Damodar Goswami. Then who's the next person? Sanatana Goswami, the elder brother of Sri Rupa Goswami. He was attentive to that divine truth. And then Sri Rupa Goswami served that very thing with his own hands to the devotees. Then Raghunath Das Goswami tasted its sweetness. He tasted its sweetness and he also added something of his own to its flavor. Then he was assisted in doing so by Raghunath Bhatta Goswami and Gopal Bhatta Goswami. And what was distributed by Rupa and tasted by Raghunath, it was protected by Sri Jiva Goswami, who lent support to its divinity with scriptural evidence. And the taste of that divine truth, it is aspired after by who? The taste of that divine truth is aspired after by Shukadev Goswami, by Lord Shiva, and by Lord Brahma. And what do they regard this as? They regard this taste of that divine truth, they regard it with the highest respect from a distance. And what is that inconceivable ambrosia, the sublime sweet nectar of the mellows relished in the service of Srimati Radharani's holy lotus feet. O Bhakti Vinod Thakur, within this world you fully possess the ability to give us that extraordinary nectar. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki. What? Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki. Now the final verse, verse number 10. Now he's talking about his own complete insignificance. He says, Kvaham mandamatis tavativa patita kvatvam jagat pavana Bosvamin kripaya parardha nichayo nunam tvaya kshamyatam Yacheham karuna nidhe varamimam padam jamule bhavat Sarvasvavadiradika dayita dasan amgane ganyatam. Sarvasvavadiradika dayita dasanam gane ganyatam. Sarvasvavadiradika dayita dasanam gane ganyatam. Yes, coming now. Yes, coming. Yes, coming now. So now Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he's trying to estimate, where am I? What is my condition in comparison with all these personalities? He says, but where am I? Where am I? I am in a most fallen condition. My intelligence is bound with fault. And where are you, O deliverer of the universe, O Master? By your causeless mercy alone, my unlimited offenses can be pardoned. O ocean of compassion, O Guru Deva, I humbly beg for one favor before your lotus feet. O ocean of compassion, O Guru Deva, I humbly beg for one favor before your lotus feet. Kindly count me as one of the servitors of Sri Sri Radha Krishna, that divine couple, who are an ocean of matchless wealth. Jai Srila Sachidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki Jai Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Gaur Gadadhar ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Now we're going to read the biographical sketch, which is spoken by Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Goswami Maharaj. He says that today is a very special TT. It is the appearance day. It is spoken on the appearance day, but we can speak the same things on the appearance or the disappearance day. So he's saying it is the appearance day of Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. He says that from a material consideration, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur was born on September 2nd, 1838 in Bir Nagar, Nadia district, in a family of zamindars, that is landlords. And then he was given the name Kedarnath Datta. Swami Vivekananda was also born in the same dynasty as Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur's father was Ananda Chandra Datta, and his mother was Jagat Mohini Devi. And his father left this world when Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur was only 11. So an ancestor of Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, who was named Govinda Sharan Datta, was a very wealthy landlord, after whom the village Govindapur was named. So eventually Govindapur combined with Sutanuti and Kalighat to form what? The present-day city of Kolkata. Now at Prait Gaya, there is a mountain called Chandranath, which previously pilgrims had difficulty ascending. Govinda Sharandatta made steps on this mountain as a service to the pilgrims, and to this day there is a plaque with his name there. Now, the childhood pastimes of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. As a child, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was very curious by nature. And once he approached a sculptor who was engaged in sculpting a deity. And he asked, "When will there be life in this deity?" Initially, the sculptor replied, "The deity will come alive when I paint his eyes." So at the time of painting the eyes, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was there. And seeing the deity still lifeless, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur inquired again. This time the sculptor said, "Only when a Brahmana does pran pratishta, a rite by which life is infused in the deity form to commence the worship, only when a Brahmana does that, then the deity will come alive." Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was not satisfied by such answers. So to witness the deities coming to life, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was present during the pran pratishta ceremony, but still saw that the deity was lifeless and asked the Brahmana, "When will there be life in this deity?" At that time, both the sculptor and the Brahmin confessed that they had no faith, and they simply performed the pran pratishta out of custom. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's marriage, it was arranged when he was just 12 years old. And his wife, Shayamani Devi, then 7, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur later referred to it as a play marriage. Play. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur studied in a school in Birnagar. Later, he was transferred to another English school at Krishnanagar, and eventually he attended the university at Kolkata. Amongst his classmates was Satyendranath Tagore, the brother of Rabindranath Tagore. They were followers of the Brahmo Samaj. And even though Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur would refute the conceptions of the Brahmo Samaj, Satyendranath remained amicable, as he especially appreciated his ability to debate based on sound logical arguments called yukti. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur used to stay at the residence of his uncle, who was a theist of sorts. So his uncle was a follower of Brahmo Samaj. He did not believe in the existence of the Supreme as a separate individual entity, but he attributed nature as being the Supreme. So young Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur never opined in their debates, and he eventually discontinued their association. A very nice picture here. Oh, Krishna. Oh, God. I lost it. See if this works. Okay. Very nice picture here I wanted to show you, but I'm not going to take the risk again for this to disappear. So, the uncle of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he had two brothers. And although they were initially in agreement with the conceptions of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, but later they differed on their respective ideologies. They would even invite Baul, the Baul Sampradaya, that is one of the Apasampradayas. They would invite Baul singers to sing kirtan in their house. However, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur never mixed with them, and by doing so he set an ideal. Later in his life, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote the following. This is a verse that he wrote. Vaishnav Charitra Sarvada Pavitra Jai Ninde Himsa Kori Bhaktivinoda Na Sambashe Tare Take Sada Mauni Dori. He's saying that the character of the Vaishnava is always pure and holy. And Bhaktivinoda promises that he will never speak to one who criticizes such a Vaishnava out of envy, but he will remain silent whenever in his company. So, now comes the story of taming various impostors, like taming a wild animal. So after finishing his studies, he started teaching in schools in various places, including Bhadrak and Medinapur, and seeing Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's fluency in the English language and also his intelligence, the British administrators were very appreciative of him, and eventually the British government employed him in the administration department. So at that time in Orissa, there was one yogi called Bishaksena. We've heard this before. So by his mystic power, we were talking the other day about mystic power. Well, in India, there's a lot of people that have mystic powers. So, by his mystic power, he would miraculously cure many terminal diseases, including leprosy. And thus, he accrued much reverence amongst the general public. So one day, he announced that on the 13th day of the month of Chaitra, he would assume a four-handed form and he would kill all the mlechas. He also propagated that on Purnima, he would arrange for a Ras Leela dance by gathering all the girls and all the women. So hearing this, the dignified section of the society approached Raven Shah, that was the government commissioner at that time, and they put in a formal complaint requesting him to justly deal with the situation at hand. Then Raven Shah, he handed over Bishaksena's case to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and he said, only you can deal with this case. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, dressed in a civil outfit instead of a government uniform, he went to Bishaksena's ashram in Bhubaneswar. And then hearing that he had come to arrest him, Bishaksena warned Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur of dire consequences. But Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was not disturbed with such threats. He was soft like a lotus, but at the same time, hard as a thunderbolt, befitting the character of great personalities. Here's the verse that says that very thing. Vajrad apikatorani mriduni kusumadapi lokotaranam chetamsi konu vigyatam ishvaraha. So mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 773. The hearts of those who are above common behavior, they are sometimes harder than a thunderbolt. And then sometimes they are softer than a flower. How can one accommodate such contradictions in great personalities? So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he had Bishaksena arrested and sentenced to 1.5 months imprisonment. So Bishaksena declared that he would fast unto death and eventually he perished during his term in prison. However, while there, by dint of his yogic powers, he cast many distresses upon Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. As a result, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur fell ill, and his son fell ill too. But he neglected all these obstacles, knowing them to be a manifestation of some temporary powers that Bishaksena possessed. So for 21 days, Bishaksena fasted from even water, and eventually he left his body. Now in Jaipur, there was another person who claimed himself to be an avatar of Brahma. And then in Kurda, there was another gentleman who proclaimed himself to be an incarnation of Baladev. So like Bishaksena, Bhaktivinoda Thakur also legally tamed them. Like the taming of a lion, huh? He legally tamed them. So now, later, accompanied by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, he went on many pilgrimages. Bhaktivinoda went on many pilgrimages. Where did he go? He went to Kurukshetra, he went Prayag, Gaya, and also to Vrindavan. And while he was in Vrindavan, he heard of the oppression that was caused by a local gang of professional dacoits. They even had a name. They were called the Kanjars. And by great efforts, he stopped their atrocities. Then at one time there were 13 Apasampradayas, which had sprung up and were flourishing. Here's the verse that tells the 13 Apasampradayas. And do you know who it's told by? A pure Vaishnav named Totaram Babaji. We'll hear about that. So he says at the end of the song, Tota kahe e tar sanga nahi kari. Tota is saying that one should avoid associating with the 13 different classes of imitation devotees known as Aul, Baul, Karta, Bhaja, Neda, Dara, Vesha, Sani, Sahajiya, Saki Beti, Smarta, Jati, Gosai, Ativadi, Chudadhari, and Goranga Nagari. This verse is, you can actually sing it in this verse. Al Bal Karta Bhaja Neda Dravesha Shani, Sahajiya Saki Beki Smarta Jati Gosai, Ativadi Chudadhari Goranga Nagari, Tota Kohe E Tar Sanga Nahi Kori. Now, one pure Vaishnava who was named Totaram Babaji in Navadvip, he started teaching. And then all the schools of local caste Goswamis began to lose business. So all their pupils left them and they took shelter of this Totaram Babaji. So Totaram Babaji then filed the court cases against these Sahajiya Sampradayas, accusing that they indulge in sinful activities. So at that time, many went to see Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, pleading to request Totaram Babaji to withdraw his court cases against them. And they said, we are Vaishnavas and he is also a Vaishnava, so what is the benefit of fighting amongst ourselves? Then at that time, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur replied, Babaji Maharaj is so merciful that even by filing a court case against you, he is bestowing his mercy. And by doing so, he will create only auspiciousness for you and make you leave the wrong ways and the wrong conceptions. Now, Bhaktivinoda Thakur also stayed in Jagannath Puri for 5 years. And when he was appointed the superintendent of the temple, then he introduced a new system to streamline all the sevas. The roles, the services, and all other details were clearly defined, recorded, and systematically documented. So who would be responsible for what kind of seva, and when that particular seva would be performed, and how it would be performed? So this was initially opposed by the Pandas, the local pujaris. But Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur persisted, and the new system was introduced. And no one could haphazardly perform any seva in the temple of Lord Jagannath out of their individual whims and their fancies anymore. Now, while Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was there, he dove deep into the study of the scriptures. Which ones? We're going to hear that now. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur deeply studied the works of Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan, that is the Govinda Bhashya commentary on Vedanta Sutra. He also studied the books of Siddhanta Ratna and Prameya Ratnavali by Baladev Vidyabhushan. Then as well, he studied the Sat Sandarbhas of Srila Jiva Goswami and Srila Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And by his own precept, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur showed that it is extremely essential to deeply study these scriptures and to imbibe their teachings, which are imbued with pure devotion, especially for those who do not know the ultimate good, Shreyas. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he mentioned the 5 most potent forms of devotion, which is called Panchanga Bhakti. Panchanga Bhakti. What are they? What's the verse? From Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 22, verse 128. Sadhu Sangha Nam Kirtan Bhagavat Shravan Mathuravasa Shri Murtir Shraddhaya Sevan. One should associate with devotees, Sadhu Sangha. One should chant the holy name of the Lord, Nam Kirtan. One should hear Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavat Shravan. One should reside in Mathura, Mathuravasa. And one should worship the deity with faith and with veneration, Shri Murtir Shraddhaya Seva. Now amongst all these, Srila Jiva Goswami declared that hearing Srimad Bhagavatam as the topmost. And that is why, among various scriptures, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur gave more emphasis on the study and the discussion of Srimad Bhagavatam. Now in Jagannath Vallabha Gardens, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he had formed a Vaishnava association named Bhagavat Sangshad. And inside the temple of Jagannath, there was a Mukti Mandap. But at the place of the lotus feet imprints of Srimad Mahaprabhu, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur established Bhakti Mandap. And when Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur would speak on the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam at the Bhakti Mandap, then great Vaishnava personalities and contemporaries, who were also scholars, like Nityananda, Paramananda, Mahant Narayan Das, and Uttar Parshva Mahant, Harihara Das, they would come to hear from him. And just as Srimad Mahaprabhu set the ideal of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from the lotus lips of Sri Gadadhar Pandit at Tota Gopinath, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur heard Srimad Bhagavatam from Gopinath Pandit. And one Raghunath Das Babaji Pandit of Hatiakta, he once opposed Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur while he was speaking on the Srimad Bhagavatam, and later he was inflicted with a disease. And only on being directed in a dream by Lord Jagannath to beg forgiveness from Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur did he get relief from his distressful condition. So, now when Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was only 10 months old, there's a photo of him sitting on the lap of Bhaktivinoda Thakur here, at 10 months old. So when he was only 10 months old, then Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was transferred to Ranagat. And he traveled with his family on a palanquin from Puri to Ranagat. Later, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur went on a pilgrimage to all of the tirthas, and he returned to Hajipur in Patna. There he learned the Urdu and the Persian languages. He also established schools for local education in Orissa, and thus the locals were very indebted to him. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur would discuss on the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu in a place called Talta Bagan. At that time, Srila Prabhupada was just a young boy, and he would carry the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu on his head, and he would accompany him. And in that assembly, many great kirtaniyas would sing very nicely, and everyone would become intoxicated by those kirtans. So in one of the kirtans, they were singing Bhuvana Mohini Radha. Got that? Bhuvana Mohini Radha. Now hearing this, Srila Prabhupada, who was just a boy at that time, he said to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, "Oh Prabhu, this kirtan is opposed to Siddhanta, the conclusive truth. How can it be said Bhuvana Mohini Radha? It should be Bhuvana Mohan Krishna, Tahar Mohini Radha." Huh? That's what it should be. Bhuvana Mohan Krishna, Tahar Mohini Radha. Bhuvana Mohan is Sri Krishna, one who enchants the whole world. And the one who enchants Sri Krishna is Srimati Radharani. So how can she be addressed as Bhuvana Mohini? So in this way, right from a young age, Srila Prabhupada exhibited how he was fixed in proper Siddhanta. Oh, this is such a nice photo of him standing with Bhaktivinoda Thakur and another Vaishnava. They're sitting on the ground. Maybe it's at the birthplace of Mahaprabhu, I don't know. But then Srila Prabhupada is standing as a boy. He looks like he's about 13, 14 years old here. So, when Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, when he would go to meet Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, then Srila Prabhupada would also accompany him. And one day, Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj said to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he said, "You are a judge by profession. So please give me an apt punishment. I have committed a great offense." This is Jagannath Das Babaji saying. "I have engaged some of my followers who had come to do Hari Bhajan, and I engaged them in maintaining the garden of the Lord." Then Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur replied to him, and he said, "Yes, just as they are maintaining the garden of the Lord here, oh, they will also have to maintain the garden of the Lord in Goloka Vrindavan." So then Bhaktivinoda Bharati Maharaj is saying, will anyone understand such interactions? What does it mean? Under any circumstance, the servant, he will only serve Rishikena Rishikesha Sevana. And that in itself is bhakti. Otherwise, how will the senses be engaged in the service of the master of the senses, who is named Indriya Pati? And then Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur addressed those followers of Srila Jagannath Das Babaji, and he said, "Go to Jagannath Puri and sustain yourself on Madhukari by begging alms, and always remember the precept of Chota Haridas. Only then auspiciousness will be bestowed upon you." And hearing this, one of the servants followed Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's instructions, and he continued to progress in bhakti. But the other one who did not go, he later became a sahajiya, and he accepted one female consort as his servant and sustained himself by begging alms. So when Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, when he would speak on Srimad Bhagavatam in Godrum Dweep, at which place in Godrum Dweep? Surabhi Kunj. So, when he would speak there on Bhagavatam, Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj would also come to hear from him. Also, Swananda Sugata Kunj. So Srila Babaji Maharaj would speak on Srila Babaji Maharaj wouldn't speak or associate with anyone, but he would come to Godrumadweep to hear Bhagavatam. And it was at that time that Srila Prabhupada first took darshan of him. And sometimes Srila Vamshidas Babaji Maharaj would also join him. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur had given Srila Prabhupada Harinam and also chanting beads as well as the Nrsimha mantra with which he would worship Nrsimha Dev. So on Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's order, Srila Prabhupada accepted Diksha from Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj. Now the Maharaj of Tripura was keen to hear the discourses of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and he earnestly beseeched him to come to Tripura and to speak the glories of the Lord. So Srila Prabhupada had accompanied Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur at that time, and he had made a mental note of the king's library. Later he went there for 3 years to teach the king's son Dharma and Niti Siksha. While there he read many Vaishnava scriptures from that library. So Srila Prabhupada would say, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he is the Bhagirath, the Ganga, the Bhagirath of Kali Yuga. And just as Bhagirath brought the Ganga to this world, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur manifested the current of pure bhakti in this world. So all those who are aspiring for pure devotion, they are indebted to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So now the next is Bhaktivinoda Thakur visiting Swargaloka, heavenly planets, in his internal consciousness. So once, while he was on duty, when he was at Amalajoda station, that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur fell unconscious on a platform bench. The station master and other officers present, recognizing him to be a prominent government officer, they asked if they could arrange for a doctor. However, Srila Prabhupada, perceiving the fact of the matter, he denied their proposal. And after some time, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur returned to external consciousness. And while he was externally unconscious, he had been to Swargalok to help reconcile one of the verses of the Bhagavad Gita which had put the demigods in a quandary. There's a whole description of that as an end note to this. But it was that verse, Api Chet Sudaracharo Bhajate Mam Ananyabhak. So it's a very interesting story how Bhaktivinoda Thakur helped the demigods to resolve their misunderstanding of the true deep meaning of that shloka, the Bhagavad Gita. Now after providing the demigods the understanding of the verse, then Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he returned to external consciousness. So in honor of this event, later at the same place, Amalajoda, Srila Prabhupada established Amalajoda Prapanashram, an actual ashram there. Now, Lord Shiva, he also has a role to play here because he gave an instruction to stay in Navadvip. So when Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur expressed the desire to perform bhajan near the place of Srila Haridas Thakur's Samadhi in Jagannath Puri, then Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur established Bhakti Kutir, which is now opposite to the Purushottam Gaudiya Math near Satasan Road, near Srila Haridas Thakur's Samadhi. Now in Radha Kunda, he established Vraja Swananda Sukhada Kunja. Still there today, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Swananda Sukhada Kunja in Braj, at Radha Kunda. And he established that with an intention to eventually come to Radha Kunda and to settle there and to perform bhajan after he would resign from his official government duties. But later, he went to the great Vaishnava, Lord Shiva, at Tadakeshwara to beg permission to go to Radha Kunda. And at that time, Lord Shiva said to him, you will leave the place of your Prabhu and go? Like a question, Lord Shiva. You will leave the place of your Prabhu and you will go? Then who will spread the glories of that place to the whole world? So at that time, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur resolved to stay in Mayapur's Navadvip Dham, and eventually around 1899 he built Swananda Sukhada Kunja in Godrumadvip. Now there's a story about the Gandharvas. The Gandharvas. At one stage, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was staying in Kolkata, and he had a desire to move to Mayapur. But his sons, they would not let him. So Srila Prabhupada had come to take Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur to Mayapur. But when his brothers refused, then he left and he was going to Mayapur. So when Srila Prabhupada was at Shilda station, then Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur manifested a sickness past time. Then, worried about their father's desire remaining unfulfilled, if any untoward event took place, the sons changed their mind immediately and they gave their permission. They knew well that their father was completely transcendental. So at that time, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, the Gandharvas did what I had to do. So what was he referring to? Huh? Yes, he was referring to what Bhimsen had spoken in the Mahabharata when the Pandavas were in Kamyavan. Then the Gandharvas, they came down and they abducted the wives of Duryodhana, and they were fleeing away. Now at that time, Yudhishthira Maharaj had told Bhima, go and stop them at once. And then Bhimsen replied, oh, Yudhishthira Maharaj, what we were planning to do by engaging in warfare has already been done by these Gandharvas. So what they have done, it is good. But Yudhishthira Maharaj said, if any outsider attacks, then we are 105. So at that time Arjuna went and rescued the wives of Duryodhana from the hands of the Gandharvas. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur uttered that same verse. Gandharvas did the job. So his sons became scared by his illness and permitted him to proceed to Navadvip. Now, in 1910, a gentleman went for Dham Darshan with a return ticket, and then he bought a watermelon and he offered it to Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj, who usually would not accept anything given by anyone. However, he accepted that watermelon. So when Srila Babaji Maharaj inquired his reason behind visiting the Dham, then that man replied, I have come for Dham Darshan and I also have my return ticket, so I will go back after some days. Then Srila Babaji Maharaj replied, I haven't heard of anyone coming to the Dham and returning. I haven't heard of anyone coming to the Dham and returning. So, will anyone be able to read in between the lines and to understand the import of what Srila Babaji Maharaj said? In Bhagavad Gita we have heard this shloka 100 times. Na tat bhashayate suryo, na shashanko na pavaka, yad gatva na nivartante tad dhama paramamama. That dham, that abode of mine, it's not illumined by the sun or the moon, nor by electricity, and one who reaches it never returns to this material world. So, despite hearing this shloka so many times, did we ever think of the shloka in this way? We only read, but we don't follow. We don't imbibe the teachings or the moods of the shlokas. This is our position. So that person who was visiting the Dham, he became completely astonished. And then by the inspiration of Srila Babaji Maharaj, he accepted Diksha from Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And by accepting Diksha in the true sense, then one becomes a real Dham Vasi. So after that, wherever one goes, he carries the Dham with him. One carries the Dham within his heart. The Dham then becomes the center of one's existence. So though an individual, he may have to travel for his work, he may have to visit many places while he is away, but he is completely aware that his home is somewhere else. Where his home is, that is the center of his existence. So ultimately, all the love and all the affection will only be directed to his wife, his children, and his home. And despite spending a large amount of time with his colleagues, who he works with for 8 to 9 hours a day, will he ever cultivate such affection for his colleagues? So the same is true for the Dham. As our real relationship with the Dham becomes established, then all our love and all our affection, it goes there. So when Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was asked to speak about the glories of the Dham, then he spoke that from his very Dham, from this very Dham. All preaching will expand all over the world. This is what he spoke. So this prediction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's and Chaitanya Bhagavat, it is said, Priti Vite Jata Nagaradi Gram Sarvatra Prachar Hoive Morana. In every town and village, the chanting of my name, it will be heard. So there is some connection with regards to this prophecy. And that is that in 1896, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur sent an English book, we told in the beginning of the class, that he had authored, titled The Life and Precepts of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to many university libraries abroad. And Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami, the founder Acharya of ISKCON, who preached the Krishna Bhakti cult all over the world, was also born in that same year. So when the followers of Srila Swami Maharaj discovered the original book, sent by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in a library in England, they took it, because it had some significance that this book was sent the same year as their Guru Maharaj was born. And they later gave another edition of the same book to the library. However, they retained the original book, which was sent by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. I'd like to see that book. Don't know who has that one now, huh? So now the rediscovering of the Jog Peeth. Major accomplishment of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. If he had not done this, what we're going to hear now, no one in the world will know where Mahaprabhu was born. No one would know. And they wouldn't even know about him. So one night, when Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was staying in his Godruma house at where? What's the name of that place? Huh? Surabhi Kunj. Swananda Sukhada Kunj. So, there's two being mentioned here, but actually his Surabhi Kunj is his house that he lived in at that time. But Swananda Sukhada Kunj is the other house, where his samadhi is, and where his room's upstairs, and the room of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati is. So I've asked, what's his name, Avadut Maharaj there. So, which place was he standing when he saw that vision? And he says that he was standing there. But from others, we've heard that he was standing on the veranda of the Swananda Sukhada Kunj. At any rate, it's very nearby to one another. Now, when Bhaktivinoda Thakur was staying in his Godruma house, he saw a great effulgence, like a thick beam of light, emanating from the direction of the Jog Peeth. Like you see, how they make those lights, those floodlights that go up into the sky. So he saw that. And at that time, I don't think there was any actual formally installed electricity there at that time. I don't know for sure. But anyway, when he saw that thick beam of light emanating from the direction of the Yopi. So in the morning, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur went across to inquire if there had been any wedding ceremony or any other occasion that was celebrated. But the locals, they confirmed that no such event had occurred. And then they said that one ghost resides here, so no one can wander around this place. Then they also confirmed that nothing but tulsi grew there, and thus they were unable to use that land for farming. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur wondered, then how did I see so much effulgence coming from this place? So after this incident, then Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he went and he met with Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, who was at a very advanced age. And he used to be carried around in a basket. And his servant, Bihari Das, personal servant, would carry him around everywhere, even from Navadvip to Vrindavan and back. Wow. On his head, in a basket. Now previously, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he had also taken Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj to his residence in Kolkata. Bhaktivinoda took Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj to his residence in Kolkata. And he served him very nicely. Now his servant, Bihari Das, had commented that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur knew what it took to serve a Vaishnava and how to serve the Vaishnavas in reality. So when Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj was taken to the current site of the birthplace of Sriman Mahaprabhu, the Yogpit, although he was of a ripe old age, not even able to walk. We heard 140, he doesn't mention that here, but we heard that he was 140 years old. And even his eyelids would droop, they had to be opened with his finger. But even in that ripe old age, unable to walk, he jumped up and he began to dance ecstatically. And when he was asked why he was doing this, he said, "Can't you see? This is the birthplace of Mahaprabhu. All these devotees are also dancing here. I am joining them in some kirtan." And no one else could see them. So it is said, "Jajapi se lila kore gora rai, kono kono bhagyavan deki bare pai." That some fortunate souls are also able to see the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, that he is still manifesting in the Dham. And then they proceeded a little further from the birth site. And Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ordered that place to be excavated with the tools that are used to discard excess water from the boat. And while excavating, then a piece of the mridanga which the Qazi had broken was discovered. He confirmed that this was Srivas Angan, the Sankirtan Ras Stali. Then Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, "Now that you have ascertained this place, where is the praman? Where's the evidence?" And then Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj responded, "Gather the praman. To do that is your duty." So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he then found around 10 ancient maps from the British government. He ascertained the birthplace and Srivasangan as confirmed by Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj. Later, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur established the Vishva Vaishnav Raj Sabha there. And on Gaur Purnima, Sriman Mahaprabhu's Avirbhav Titi, the Vishva Vaishnav Raj Sabha was inaugurated. And the Maharaj of Tripura was appointed as the chairperson of that assembly. And Rajarshi Sarbindu Narayan Rai of Dinajpur, a professor of Darshan Shastra at Lahore Global University, he was appointed as the secretary. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, He was also instrumental in establishing a temple of Lord Nrsingadev. It was he who installed Gaur, Lakshmi Priya, Vishnu Priya, Panchatattva and Radha Madhava at the Yogpith temple. And later the Gaudiya Mutt began serving in that place. But it originally was established by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote over 100 books in many languages, such as Oriya, Bengali, English, and Sanskrit. He has even written one book in Urdu titled Balid-e-Registry. So when Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was in Bhadrak, he wrote one book in English titled The Mutts of Orissa. How many mutts are there in Orissa? He made a list of them, and overall there were 752 mutts. So despite his duties and his other commitment, he wrote many books. And through the illustrious son of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, namely who? Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, through his son, Bhaktivinoda Thakur founded the Gaudiya Mutt with its 64 branches all over India and abroad. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur can be designated as the original pioneer and the founder of the Gaudiya Mutt. All the kirtans sung from dawn to dusk across all of the Gaudiya Mutts are compositions of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. The Mangalarti, Bogarti, Sandhya Arti, among other kirtans. Even the glories of Mahaprasadam that are sung before honoring Mahaprasad, they're composed by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. His every composition is purely based on the scriptures, and hence my Param Gurudev, Srila Prabhupada, would not allow any kirtans other than those of Srila Narottam Das Thakur and Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur to be sung. He would say that every essential teaching is a part of these kirtans. And they are not whimsically composed. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote kirtans dedicated to each of the verses of the Sri Manasiksha, Sri Upadeshamrita, Sri Sikshastakam, Sri Nam Ashtakam by expanding on their meaning. This style of composition is called Padyanuvad. Padya Anuvad. So now Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he gave out all the essential teachings through his kirtans. And in one of his kirtans, namely, O Hey Vaishnava Thakur, he said, Krishna se tomar, Krishna dite paro, tomara shakati ache, Ami to kangal, Krishna Krishna boli, dai tava pache pache. Krishna is yours. You have the power to give Krishna. I am only a beggar running behind you, calling out, Krishna, Krishna. So this kirtan, it's based on the Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhishma, he was wounded. He was lying on the bed of arrows for 52 days. And seeing him in this state, it greatly pained Maharaj Yudhisthira, who thought himself to be the cause for Bhishma's condition. And had he not incited it, the great war of Mahabharata would not have taken place, and grandsire Bhishma would not have had to suffer in this way. So when the young Pandavas lost their father, it was Bhishma who had cared for them and brought them up. And now, to put that same personality through such suffering, just for the sake of regaining a kingdom, served as a great source of sorrow for Yudhishthira. So after the war of Kurukshetra was over, all those who had sacrificed their lives on the battlefield, they were cremated. And at the end, Sri Krishna begged permission from all the 5 Pandavas to return to Dwarka. And then all of them individually agreed. However, when Sri Krishna approached Kunti Devi, begging her permission, she began to cry. And seeing her crying, Sri Krishna said, "Now there is no enemy of yours. Shall I take leave?" And then Queen Kunti replied, "The enemy is on all 4 sides." And then what verse did she say? Janmaishwarya Shruta Shribir Edamana Madak Puman Naivar Hatya Bidatum Vai Tvam Akinshana Gocharam. O my Lord, your lordship can easily be approached, but only by those who are materially exhausted. So one who is on the path of material progress, trying to improve himself with respectable parentage, great opulence, high education, and bodily beauty, they cannot approach you with sincere feeling. And then saying this, she began to cry again. And so, Sri Krishna decided to stay on a few more days. So later he said to the Pandavas, shall we go and pay our homage to Bhishma Pitamaha? And upon hearing these words, everyone got ready. When they reached the site where Bhishma Pitamaha was lying on the bed of arrows, Maharaj Yudhisthira started wailing like an infant. And while holding Bhishma's feet, he said, there is no bigger Pakandi than I. I am the very cause of your suffering. Pakandi means pretender or imposter. Shri Krishna said to Bhishma Pitamaha, Maharaj Yudhisthira, he's just like a child. So you please bestow some noble instructions unto the Pandavas and all those who have assembled here. And then Bhishma Pitamaha replied, where you, the very personification of Dharma, are present, what instructions can I give? I am just an insignificant personality in comparison to you, Bhishma told to Yudhisthira, or told to Krishna. And then Sri Krishna said, since he feels that he is the cause of your suffering, he will only listen from you. Then Bhishma Pitamaha began his address. O Yudhisthira Maharaj, your belief that you are the cause behind my pain is wrong. No one has any independence to cause anyone pain or happiness. No one has. No independence to cause anyone pain or happiness. One's own activities become the cause of happiness or distress. And then he gave many instructions and teachings to Maharaj Yudhisthira and to everyone present there. So to Arjuna, Bhishma Dev said, you can give Sri Krishna to me. Bhishma told to Arjuna, you can give Sri Krishna to me. At the end of my life, please give Sri Krishna to me. And to Yudhisthira he gave the instructions, and to Arjuna he begged for mercy. And from an external consideration, who had put Bhishma Dev in such a state? It was none other than Arjuna. And from that same Arjuna, Bhishma Dev was begging for mercy, considering him as spiritual master. He said, Sri Krishna is your Sakha. You can give Sri Krishna to me. Please give Krishna to me at the moment of my death. And based on this episode from the Mahabharata, Sri Bhaktivinoda Thakur penned these lines, Krishna se tomar, Krishna dite par, tomara shakatiyache. Ami to kangal, Krishna Krishna boli, dai tava pache pache. So, we're near the end. The book, Sharanagati, of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Bhaktivinoda Thakur presented all the scriptural conclusions in a very simple and a very straightforward manner, in the form of what? Beautifully composed songs. And in his first kirtan of Sharanagati, he mentions whose prayers are heard by the Lord. And that very Lord who comes to this world to bestow the very rare gift of praying unto the unfortunate conditioned souls, that very Lord gave the teachings of Sharanagati. And that Sharanagati, that surrender, is the life air of a devotee. Shikaye Sharanagati Bakatera Pra. So, here's the English translation of that song. In order to bestow the extremely rare treasure of Prema Bhakti, Mahaprabhu taught Sharanagati, which is the life and the soul of the devotees. Humility, submission of the self, acceptance of the Lord as one's only maintainer, faith in Krishna's protection, acceptance of all acts favorable for bhakti, rejection of that which is unfavorable. And whoever embodies each of these 6 facets of Sharanagati, then their prayers are heard by the son of Nanda Maharaj. The Lord only hears the prayers of those who are surrendered. And that is why, when Prahlad Maharaj said, yes, my Lord exists even in this pillar. That's why the Lord manifested as Nrsingadev from the pillar. So Hiranyakashipu with a club in his hand started roaring around, looking for that personality, proclaiming, I will finish him the moment I see him. But Hiranyakashipu could not see him. All the demigods watching from above, they were very anxious out of fear of Hiranyakashipu. They said, we see here that the Lord did not hear the prayers of the demigods. But when a surrendered devotee, Prahlad, said, oh, my Lord exists everywhere, including in this pillar, then Nrsingadev appeared out of that pillar to keep the word of his devotee. And that is why, if one has the desire to achieve this most rare Krishna Prem, then he has no choice but to do what? What's his only choice? He has to do Sharanagati, he has to surrender. That's his only choice. If one has the desire to achieve this rare Krishna Prem. So the words of the scripture and those of the previous acharyas, like Srila Rupa Goswami, they were captured in a very simple and a very straightforward manner in this first song of Sharanagati by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So there's one more section here, and then, we're almost at the end now. And so you've all heard of the famous meeting, which was going to be a big topic of discussion amongst pundits, that who is superior. They wanted to conclusively, by Shastric evidence, they wanted to come to the final conclusion that between a Brahmin and a Vaishnava, which of them is superior? Now, at that time, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, this is in 1911, is 3 years before he departed. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur was invited to speak at a spiritual assembly at Medinipur. And that was the topic of discussion. Who is superior, Brahmin or Vaishnava? So at that time, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was already 73 years old, and he was unwell. So thinking that an opportunity had presented itself to serve Sriman Mahaprabhu, which he was unable to fulfill, his eyes brimmed with tears out of the sentiment of dinata, feeling himself very lowly. And he was wondering, who could he send to represent him? And at that time, Srila Prabhupada approached him requesting, if you order, this insignificant servant of yours could go and address the assembly. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur agreed and sent him along with one Brahmana. Then Srila Prabhupada journeyed on foot to Medinipur. He stayed overnight in a village and continued his journey, reaching his destination the next day. He immediately met with the organizers and he conveyed his desire to speak. At that time, Srila Prabhupada was very young. He had a very beautiful face. His name was noted as one of the speakers. The chairman of that assembly was Vishwambar Nath Dev Goswami, who was also the chief of Gopi Vallabhpur Shripat. Many other respectable personalities like Madhusudan Goswami Sarvabhauma of Radharaman Gera in Vrindavan, they were also assembled there. So when his turn came, Srila Prabhupada started speaking, extolling the glories of the Brahmana. Oh, he glorified the position of a Brahmana in great detail. And then later he asked all the Brahmanas present in the assembly, does anyone have any comments to make on what I have spoken on the position of a Brahmana? Then everyone in the assembly accepted very easily, saying, oh, we are completely satisfied with what you have spoken and we have nothing more to say. Next, Srila Prabhupada went on to extol the glories of the Vaishnavas, and he established how a Vaishnava is superior to a Brahmana. And at that time, many in the audience were agitated. But one of the Goswamis said, I have read all scriptures, and what he is speaking is conclusive. Srila Prabhupada's impact was so heavy that everyone became anxious to offer him obeisances and to touch his lotus feet after his speech. They even wanted to bathe his feet. And when Srila Prabhupada denied, they placed his feet in a drum, they bathed them by force, took the Sharanamrita. And later a book that was titled Brahman and Vaishnava was released based on Srila Prabhupada's speech in that assembly. We have that book. The Lord always fulfills the desire of His pure devotee, so Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is a pure devotee of the Lord. That is why Srila Prabhupada was inspired to ask Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's permission to address the assembly. And this final, one short paragraph, the disappearance pastime of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur on June 23rd, 1914. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur manifested his disappearance pastime, and he entered the eternal pastimes of the Lord. He appeared in September and he disappeared in June. He had appeared in the Nadia district and he left his body in Bhakti Bhavan, Kolkata. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Samadhi is there in Godruma. All those who have been to Godrum have taken darshan of his Samadhi. So since he discovered the birthplace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and he illuminated the glories of Navadvip Dham, there is a temple near Jogpit with his deity to commemorate him. So today is his Avirbhav Titi, and on this day we beg, he's speaking this on the Avirbhav day. And on this day we beg for his mercy and his compassion, that we are able to follow and to imbibe his teachings, and in this way to achieve the perfection of this human form of life. Gaur Premanand. Srila Sachidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Saptam Gosai Srila Sachidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Tirobhav Mahamahotsav Titi Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. So, Srila Gadadhar Pandit Prabhu, also his day of disappearance from this world. And I'm requesting Sripad Sajan Maharaj to speak a few minutes, because Sajan Maharaj likes Gadadhar Pandit very much, because he has small Gaur Gadadhar deities. So he should tell a few words about Sri Gadadhar Pandit Prabhu, the avatar of Srimati Radharani in Gaur Leela. And so many pastimes are there in Srila Bhaktivigyan Bharati Maharaj's Katha, where he speaks about how it happened that Gadadhar Pandit took initiation from Pundarik Vidyanidhi, and how how Gadadhar Pandit took Kshetra Sannyas, and how he followed Mahaprabhu when he left for his journey, but then Mahaprabhu sent him back and he collapsed and fainted on the ground, but he went back, and how he served. Now I'm just telling some of the topics. See, how he served Tot Gopinath and other pastimes. So please bless us with a few minutes of the glories of Sri Gadadhar Pandit Prabhu.
Agyaratamrandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshunitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurena Guruve Guru Chandra Radhikai Tadale Krishnai Krishna Bhaktai Tad Bhaktai Namo Namo Bhakti Virodaya Namo Bhakti Virodaya Satchidanam Nanda Namane Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupananda Vranti Panchakalpadrubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Bhajami Aham Gadadharam Sapanditam Gurum Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Begging for Katha's mercy of my Guru Dev, Vitilila Pavishtamashra Tadvit, Shish Manshla Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada, and my Shikshan Sanyas Guru Devas, Vitilila Pavishtamashra Tadvit, Shish Manshla Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, Vitilila Pavishtamashra Tadvit, Shish Manshla Bhaktivedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj, Arubanuka, Guru Vargacharyas, all the Sama Vaishnavas, headed by Sripad Bhaktivedanta Padmanabha Maharaj and Sripad Bhopadev Prabhu, my Guru Bhais. So, Gaura Shakti Swarupaya, Rupanuga, we have heard that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is an intimate associate of Gaura Shakti, Mahaprabhu Shakti, Gadadhar Pandit. He's the swarup of that personality. So, Gadadhar Pandit, exalted member of the Panchatattva, he associated with Mahaprabhu from his early childhood, playing and frolicking, performing wonderful pastimes, assisting Mahaprabhu. As Srimati Radharani, Mahaprabhu has come to experience the love of Srimati Radharani for himself. The qualities in him that she relishes through her love and the ecstasy she feels by his love. He has come as Mahaprabhu, the combination of Radha and Krishna personified as Gaura, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Radharani has come, that does, as Gurudev explains, that doesn't mean that Radharani, he took the color, the kanti and the mood of Srimati Radharani. Does that mean that Radharani was left zero? No. She also remains full, just as Krishna's own Purnam. Srimati Radharani is full. So she manifested in Mahaprabhu's Leela to assist him in relishing her love. That was Gadadhar Pandit. And Mahaprabhu, especially after he went to Gaya and met his divine preceptor, Ishvara Puripad, then Mahaprabhu returned to Navadvip before he had been known as Nimai Pandit. And exalted personalities were praying that, oh, Nimai Pandit, he is such a great scholar and erudite personality. If only he could become a Vaishnava. So then they were astonished when Nimai Pandit came back and became Bhavu Nimai. So he was deeply absorbed at that time in the mood of Srimati Radharani. calling out, Ha Krishna, where is Krishna, Ha Krishna. So in so much deeper Lamba Bhav. And one time in deep separation from himself, but he was actually experiencing that in the mode of Srimati Radharani, he began calling out, crying, Ha Krishna, Ha Krishna, where is that Supreme Lord, my Prananath? And he was absolutely mad. And Mother Sachi, witnessing this, she was in so much anxiety. And then Gadadhar Pandit, he mentioned to Nimai, oh, that Lord who you're searching for is actually yourself, within your heart. And so then Nimai began tearing at his chest, going to rip it open. And Gadadhar Pandit pacified him. No, you have come to experience that love of Srimati Radharani for yourself. And his words pacified Nimai. And then Mother Sachi, she said, oh, I will always have you close by my son, Nimai, to protect him always. So they had a very powerful relationship. And as Maharaj said, Gadadhar Pandit was also one of the few personalities who knew that Mahaprabhu was going to take sannyas and then go to Puri. So then in Puri, Mahaprabhu and Gadadhar Prabhu had such an intimate relationship, and daily Mahaprabhu would go and visit Gadadhar Pandit in one place in Puri, and one day, Mahaprabhu would hear Bhagavatam from Gadadhar Pandit. We can't imagine. Srila Gurudev explains actually Srimati Radharani is the heart of Srimad Bhagavatam, and those who are Rasikacharyas, they know that every chapter, every verse, every shloka, every word is saturated with Radharani, and Mahaprabhu is hearing that Srimad Bhagavatam from the lotus mouth of Gadadhar Pandit, who is none other than Srimati Radharani. Such powerful Harikatha. So one day when he was hearing, Mahaprabhu spoke to Gadadhar Pandit. He said, oh, I'm feeling so sublime ecstasy hearing your transcendental narrations of Bhagavatam. I want to give you a gift. And Mahaprabhu began scratching the sand in that place. And from deeper and deeper, then he manifested a deity of Gopinath, who now is the deity of, known as Tota Gopinath, because that garden was where Gadadhar Pandit used to speak, became the temple. It is now the temple of that Gopinath deity, and we can go and visit that temple and see the garden where Mahaprabhu heard the transcendental narrations of Bhagavatam. So much Mahaprabhu put that Gopinath deity in the hands of Gadadhar Pandit, and Gadadhar Pandit served that deity so meticulously and so much love and affection. And at one point he made a vow, I will never leave, it's called Kshetra Sannyas, I will never leave the holy Dham of Jagannath Puri. Although one day Mahaprabhu was leaving Jagannath Puri to go to Bengal, Gadadhar Pandit decided to follow Mahaprabhu. And partway there, then Mahaprabhu stopped and he said, no, you have taken a vow of Kshetra Sannyas, you will never leave Jagannath Puri, and you are also meant to care for the Gopinath deity, so you cannot come with me any further. So in deep separation, Gadadhar Pandit stayed there. And when Mahaprabhu was deeply absorbed in his pastimes at Gambhira, then Swarup Damodar and Roy Ramananda would appease Mahaprabhu in those deep feelings of deeper Lamba Ras, such separation pastimes. But Gadadhar Pandit would not come. And it's explained he did not come because he didn't want to disturb the move of Mahaprabhu in that deep separation. Because if he came, then he would realize in the presence of Radharani that he had his conception of feeling, his feelings of Krishna would manifest. So Maharaj also spoke about the pastime of one time Gadadhar Pandit, he had not taken initiation yet, and he was always wondering, oh, how can I get exalted association and hear from Mahabhagavat? So he is encouraged, some say by Mahaprabhu and some say by Mukunda. You go and hear from one exalted Vaishnava named Pundarik Vijayanidhi. So he had heard so much, and they went to the residence of Pundarik Vijayanidhi. Gadadhar Pandit was anticipating, oh, this great personality, I will hear from the lips mouth of Mahabhagavat, great Vaishnava. I'm so excited. But when he got there, he saw that Pundarik Vijayanidhi had surrounded himself with so much opulence. There was so much wealth and so much opulence. He was laying on a very beautiful silk cushion with so much silk pillows, and he was being fanned by personalities and fed different fruits. And there, close by him, was a hookah where sometimes he would smoke from that hookah. And in this way, he was absorbed in so much like material opulence, like a materialist. So, although Gadadhar Pandit didn't say anything, Mukunda could realize his feelings, and he began to sing a verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. And is that Bharapitam Natavar Babu Kaniya Kamika? Oh yeah, he sang this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, and hearing the beautiful words and voice of Mukunda, Pundarik Vijayanidhi heard this song of Bhagavatam and was deeply absorbed in this mood of how exalted is this personality who, even though someone like Putana came to kill him, he gave so much mercy and compassion to her that he allowed her to become a transcendental associate of his as a milkmaid there. So in this verse, Pundarik Vijayanidhi was deeply absorbed and immediately cast aside all the pillows and crashed things around him, threw different things, and was rolling on the ground. The place became an absolute mess, and he was crying tears of ecstasy, hearing these words of Pundarik Vijayanidhi of the Srimad Bhagavatam by Mukunda Prabhu, and Gadadhar Pandit could see these transcendental symptoms and astasaptic buzz of a great Mahaprabhu. And sometimes it's said that Mahaprabhu said he could be relieved from that offensive thought by taking shelter of Pundarik Vijayanidhi and taking initiation. So he took he was so embarrassed by that thought of thinking this was an ordinary personality, and he saw what an exalted personality actually was, so he took shelter and became a disciple of that personality. So then one can ask, well, who is Pundarik Vijayanidhi in the ultimate sense? Such a great Vaishnava, an associate of Gaur Leela. So actually it is explained in Gordana Ganadesh Tipika and other places that Pundarik Vijayanidhi is nothing no one other than the manifestation of Vishubhanu Maharaj. So how suitable is that her Vishubhanu Maharaj's daughter Srimati Radharani takes shelter of Vishubhanu Maharaj in the form of Gadadhar Pandit taking shishya from Pundarik Vijayanidhi. So many different wonderful pastimes are there. I didn't take notes.
Well, there's at the end, the Bhagavatam that he was reading from.
Oh, who wanted to read from that? Was that Raghunath? Srinivasacharya was looking for Bhagavatam to read after the departure of Mahaprabhu, departure of Nityananda, others. Then and he was told, oh, go, Mahaprabhu would hear Bhagavatam from Gadadhar Pandit, go there to Tota Gopinath, and there you will get to see the Bhagavatam of Gadadhar Pandit. But Gadadhar Pandit, while he was narrating Bhagavatam, had so much ecstasy and manifested so many symptoms of the ecstasy that his tears completely drenched the Srimad Bhagavatam and obliterated the ability to read the Srimad Bhagavatam. And then he went to somebody else, and that Bhagavatam was also drenched with tears. But I forget who that personality was. There was a second Bhagavatam that was also drenched with tears. So,
and how after Mahaprabhu departed, Gadadhar Pandit became so frail.
Yes, so, but also I've heard Guru comment on this when we were at Tota Gopinath, that some persons are saying because of this old age and inability that to reach the Gopinath deity with a garland, then the deity Gopinath sat down to make it easier for giving that garland. But Gurudev said that it's just like we see some temples have the Panchatattva with Advaitacharya with gray hair and a beard, and other temples have him as a young person. So these personalities are nitya, they're eternal personalities, and they never grow old like an ordinary person. And Gurudev explains because it's ecstasies and manifestations of deep symptoms of separation, that out of ecstasy, sometimes he could not easily put a garland on Gopinath, so Gopinath, to reciprocate with that loving service, agreed to sit down. And if you go there after Mangalarti, it's also mentioned that Mahaprabhu, there's different stories of when Mahaprabhu decided to wind up his pastimes here. Some say that he was in ecstasy and entered into the ocean, seeing it as the Jamuna and coming in ecstasy and then entering into the ocean and never returning. Some say that he entered into the Jagannath temple for darshan of Jagannath temple, and in ecstasy he never returned outside, again from the Jagannath temple. And many others explain how he was in deep moods of absorption and ecstasy and entered into the Gopinath deity at Tota Gopinath. And after Mangalarti, the Pujari will give you darshan of the legs of the deity sitting down, and there is a white mark on the right leg of Gopinath, and it is said that Mahaprabhu entered into that very spot, and that's how he wound up his manifest pastimes in this material manifestation, Boma Lila. So in this wonderful disappearance pastime Titi of both Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Gaura Shakti, and Srila Karuna Shakti, Srila Gadadhar Pandit, we pray to these personalities that we can become absorbed in this holy Dham of Navadvip. We're so fortunate to reside, and that these teachings of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, his beautiful kirtans, that he's given so much of these Sharanagati and so much of these different feelings of humility and all the different symptoms of ecstasy, he's manifested in the words and melodies of these transcendental kirtans. We pray that we can get one drop of this ocean of their mercy on this holy day.
Jai Srila Gadadhar Pandit Prabhu Ki Jai. And just one last note that just one last note how Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj is telling that in one sense the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita was written by the mercy of Gadadhar Pandit. And how was that? Because Gadadhar Pandit accepted Advaita Acharya's son, Achyutananda, and also Ananta Acharya. Amongst others, he accepted as his disciples, Gadadhar Pandit. So Sri Haridas Pandit Goswami, who had ordered Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami to write Chaitanya Charitamrita, who was he the disciple of? He was the disciple of Ananta Acharya. So hence, in a way, by Gadadhar Pandit's mercy today, we have Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Why? Because his disciple's disciple had given the order for Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita to be composed. And one last thing he points out is that in Vrindavan, there is a samadhi. It is called the Danta Samadhi. And it is the tooth of Gadadhar Pandit, one of his teeth. And it is situated near to Sri Radharaman temple. Have you seen it? Have you seen it? So in this way, Srila Bhaktivedanta Bharati Maharaj ends, says, and today I remember Sri Gadadhar Pandit and I pray for his mercy. So in this way now, you want to add something less?
Just one more comment.
Yeah.
As Maharaj mentioned, I have personal deities and I'm in deep separation from them. They are in Vrindavan being cared for very nicely. Small deities, exact replicas of the deities from Godrum. This morning I went to Godrum. There was a big festival with all the Gaudiya Math temples. There, a big assembly of many sannyasis, and where Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's samadhi is and the beautiful deities of Gaur Gadadhar. I had a very famous vigraha out of neem wood carved, that exact replica of the big deities and my small Gaur Gadadhar deities. And many people, well, why have you worshipping Gaur Gadadhar? Why are you worshipping Gaur Gadadhar? Why don't you have Nitai Gauranga like all the devotees of Nitai and Chaitanya? I remember reading once, I forget where, that actually we can perfect ourselves in our sadhana bhakti by worshipping Nityananda and Mahaprabhu. And especially when that sadhana bhakti is very deeply available by the mercy of Nityananda Mahaprabhu and to become deeply perfected in Vaidhi Bhakti. But then it said, but Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur showed in his worship that he worshipped Gaur Gadadhar deities, not Nityananda Mahaprabhu, because he wanted to show that how perfection is attained by the worship of Gaur Gadadhar, Radha and Krishna in their transcendental manifestations in Gaur Leela.
Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo Srila Gadadhar Pandit Prabhu Ki Jai Srila Sachidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Shri Shri Navadvip Dhama Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. So we're not going to have class. Today is Friday, and because of this big festival that's going on there in Mayapur at the Samadhi, the newly opening Samadhi of Srila Bhakti Vallabha Tirtha Maharaj and his Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Dayata Madhav Goswami Maharaj, there's a big, huge 3-day festival going on there. And today is the first day of that festival. Saturday, Sunday is the next days of that festival. So we decided in our last class that we would not have our usual Sunday class. And devotees are free to go and attend. those programs which are going to be going on there. There's like a schedule. For today, they actually advertised that they're going to have a big, huge Nagar Sankirtan there. So that is supposed to be taking place sometime around 4 o'clock or something like that. And then tomorrow there's the installation of they call it a kalash in the Samadhi, but I don't know what that is. Do you know what that is? Kalash.
Kalash means made of
Made of earth, yeah.
That is what.
Kalash. So I don't.
I just went there.
You went there.
I just coming from
In the Samadhi. You saw inside of the Samadhi.
Yeah,
And what do they have there?
actually that was closed, but colossus were there inside. Inside the hall. So it is not open, but we have seen from outside glass.
Okay.
Colossus were there.
Okay. But according to their schedule, tomorrow in the morning time, they're going to have the actual installation of the two deities of these two acharyas in their samadhi.
Sunday.
On Sunday, yeah. Oh, that's right. Today's Friday. Sorry. On day after tomorrow, on Sunday, on the 7th. That's the concluding day. But
Yatra also.
huh?
That is Rath Yatra. Rath festival also.
Yeah, that's also Lord Jagannath's Rath Yatra day in Jagannath Puri on that day. Yes, Maharaj?
This morning I was invited at the Jagannath Temple in Rajpur, Samantadweep, the famous Jagannath Baladev and Subhadra deities. They're having a Rath Yatra there, midday.
On which day?
On Sunday.
Okay.
I think 11 a.m., something
Yeah.
like that. Big Rath Yatra festival as well.
Yeah, then I won't be there because I have to be here at 4:30. This is the 3rd year in a row that our friend Krishnananda, who he's the one organizing a small local Rath Yatra here in Navadvip. And so he's requested myself and Sajjan Maharaj to come and to help inaugurate that Jagannath, Rath Yatra. They have a cart. The cart is here. I saw it just yesterday. I don't know if they started setting it up yet and decorating it, but that will be taking place at 4:30 p.m. on that Sunday. So there's a small little Rath Yatra festival here also. And but I will go over there in the morning personally with the installation of the deity. And also they have evening programs there for, I think beginning today, they're going to have different pravachans and different speakers glorifying the two great acharyas. So that's going to be quite an event. I think if you went there, have you seen the place which they've set up as the place where everyone will be sitting? Some big huge pandal. Have you seen? Huh? Yeah. No, I'm talking about, but they set up a huge gigantic pandal there for this program. No? They haven't? Oh, I'm just thinking because like years ago, 2010 or 11, they had the 50th anniversary. Yeah, it's like on the back side there. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, devotees are free to go and spend as much time as you would like and to even also attend. I'm sure that they're probably going to make some arrangement for English translation as the speakers are speaking. We'll see about that. But they're very, very together, and they know how to organize practically better than any other Gaudiya Math I've seen. So So that will be a nice event. Srila Bhakti Vallabha Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Srila Bhakti Dayata Madhav Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Tadiya Samadhi Festival ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Here you take Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavachai Namo Nama Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaiva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. All glory to the assembled devotees.